Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adamant Cup for Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. We are deep into the second week of this event, and we have got another race for you today, and it's going to look pretty exciting here as we see Judge Joe versus Keddril in the Cat Craw group. My name is Rex Raoul, and I'm joined at the booth by Microcorgs. Corgs, how are these runners doing so far in this event?
These runners have been doing very well. It's a group populated with a lot of old-time names to this community, and one of them, Keddril, himself has been around for many years, nearly since the beginning. Judge Joe, a newer runner, but exciting for both of them. Keddril is currently 1-0 in the group, and Judge Joe's 1-1. So that means whoever wins tonight is going to essentially vault into the top, which is currently held by Poydrak and Lord Bobbery in their group at 2-1 each. So pretty high stakes as we're progressing through this group stage and prepping to send some runners onto the brackets.
Yeah, it's also interesting. Keddril's only race so far is a victory against Poydrak, who's sitting up at the top too. So the shuffling around of the positions is really interesting in this group. And as you said, a lot of the old guard. So it's really nice to see that, as well as somebody who's newer like Judge Joe also finding success here.
Yeah, you mentioned Keddril beat Poydrak. Poydrak beat Judge Joe, but I think tonight this is anyone's race. If I was one of these runners, I'd be pretty excited. I like a Kane start. There's so many great hits with the early looting, which has kind of been a mainstay of this flag set as runners are getting used to it. You generally want to find something good early because the treasure setting is kind of tuned up to get the good stuff, and there's lots of good stuff Kane can find.
Absolutely. Kane's equipment set is just so deep compared to most of the other characters that you get at the beginning. We also see one of the objectives, I think is always looming large when you see it, is that complete the giant of Babil. What do you think about that objective in this flag set?
I think it's a great way to get experience, depending, of course, when the teams decide to go there. But what's kind of exciting is you have that Giant of Babil, which requires the Darkness Crystal, but I'm not seeing any Moon Altars as objectives, and I've been finding those are pretty fun races because you can't just convince yourself, oh, I'm going to go do Ribbon Room and Masamune, because they are objectives, and maybe I'll get kind of a chain of key items that lead to the other ones. So if these players get an early Darkness, I'm very curious to see if they dive that Moon, knowing that there aren't just built-in objectives up there.
Yeah, it is really interesting when you've got that. Plus, as you mentioned, experience. Like the giant is one thing, but the moon is another place to gain a lot of experience. You can do that and do your key item checks in one thing, but without the objectives up there, it does become a question. When do you do that? And of course, availability of the darkness crystal is a big one too. One other thing here, one of the objectives that I've been seeing in a lot and I don't see here is launch the Falcon. So that's another one where it's like, if we get a hook route, that's another thing where what might be an objective in a lot of these seeds isn't today.
Yeah, and a hook route can be challenging, though I would expect. Yeah, I'm not sure if we've seen any really, at least I haven't witnessed any devastating hook routes yet with the gear available and the characters available. And we have a Kane Palom start, and that's a king. Saying he's giving you something from the king. I think they just got a protect ring, but that king and queen, when they eventually go to Baron, won't pose much of a threat. So nice to know there's a free boss there.
Yeah, that protect ring, very good piece of defensive gear. Will help get the experience on the characters you want early. Like if you want to make sure Palom survives an early boss to get to those level 2 magic spells. That's something that's going to be a lot easier with the protect ring in hand. We'll see if both of our runners go up over to Toria right away to check the key item in Edward's bed, and it looks like that's where they're going. I think that's been the pretty standard start that I've been seeing so far in this event.
Yeah, it seems like it's either directly to Troya or sometimes to Evelyn. Maybe if you have a Tella, you go to one of those spots that you can loot and exit out of. But yeah, I'm always kind of a little paranoid because I would hate to fade this and then have this be Earth Crystal, and then you just miss out on high tier loot right away. It's such that would just always be in the back of my head. And let's see what they get. Not too useful yet.
Yeah, it's the little shortcut there from the pass. Pretty nice to have in your pocket. I think that's something that might actually push the incentive a little bit more towards an early moon dive if that darkness crystal comes, because then you're gonna want to come back anyways. But with no objectives on the moon, that's the big thing overall, really.
We see some lockstep looting here through the free treasury. So a slumber sword, a sylph summon. That's nothing too exciting yet. +5 stat stick for the black mage Palom, but nothing overwhelming. We'll see where they decide to go next. If they both go to Eblin, or some folks go right to Damsian. Damsian can roll some pretty good stuff and maybe save you some time.
And it looks like Keddril's going to do some looting. Finds the black belt. That's a pretty nice thing to know where it's at for shops if you've got enough money to afford it. Also an Ogre Axe. Some pretty decent stuff for Kane there. But it looks like JudgeJoe is going to go and check out the character on Mount Hobbs for the next check here.
Could be big. Normally in many of the tournaments that the community has run, you don't get a chance to see a really powerful early character, or a character that would be powerful early, named Edge, the ninja, but it's another thing you don't want to miss out on too early if he happens to be here. Let's see if they luck out with an Edge. They don't. They do get a Sid, though, who's also a pretty good powerhouse early on. We'll see who this Sparkle is.
Yeah, especially in the early game. And this is one where it's a little bit fortuitous. Arcane started off with a fire sword for these D-Lunars here for the first spot, also making use of the Cure 2s. As long as you don't use the fight command, they won't counter with their script for the viruses. But at this HP level, those Cure 2s more than enough, along with Kane's jump to take them out. And Sid is now on JudgeJoe's team.
Kane getting some decent stuff on Keddril's side. A black belt, a karate gi, an Aegis shield. So looting the waterfall, maybe a little bit less common that I've noticed during the tournament so far, but definitely the chance of some good stuff. Let's see what the under the waterfall yields. Gaia Drum could be useful to clear an early boss, especially a boss that, something like dolls or D-imps that could benefit from getting hit by decent AoE. We'll see if that pays off early.
Yeah, that Gaia Drum, very useful for early bosses. Just getting through them faster, I think, is the idea, because their power runs off. By around the mid-game, they're just not going to do enough to be relevant.
JudgeJoe title dropping his, or at least group name dropping, he picked up a cat claw, so that's always kind of fun. When someone racing gets their namesake piece of gear, JudgeJoe now has a cat claw, but no one to use it.
Yeah, if a Yang comes around, that'll be nice. But he's about the only one that will really make use of that particular claw. We do see Rubicant down here at the bottom of Eblin, or it's not Eblin, Antlion. They kind of sound alike to me, whatever. But the Ice 2 already on Palom is going to make short work of Rubicant here, and we're going to get a key item check very shortly.
Yeah, Ruby hates that. He just left.
Didn't even tell him that he lost. Just a life staff. Been a bit stingy. No key items, because the if you recall, the pass does not count towards your 17 out of 17 key items. So no key items found yet. We still don't have a way underground because of that. So we've got a few places left to check in the overworld, but it's going to be very interesting. If this is a hook route too, that could, I think, having Kane and Sid helps for that. If it's a magma key route, then that's just going to open up the door and be very nice for everybody involved.
And really, magma key, especially with Palom, always makes me think, hey, let's go do some siren eggs and get the Quake Kid quaking. We'll see if the seed is that generous for our runners.
Yeah, finding those eggs or those sirens in the gated shops could be very nice for something like that. And having Quake online means a lot of the mid-game bosses will go down very quickly. Now Keddril up, going to face those D-Looters and pick up that Sid. JudgeJoe selling that equipment in the shop in Fabul. Picks up an Earth Hammer for Sid. That's an interesting buy. It is a pretty strong weapon for Sid overall. And it can be used as an item in battle for a mini Quake effect. And it has a fire element property, but it's really, I think, a lot of the axes are generally considered stronger, but this is going to be a big power boost to Sid right now.
certainly an upgrade over the wooden hammer I think he came equipped with, and did end up selling that cat claw to finance that purchase. Keddril going to the back of Hobbs for loot. Often players do that only when they have exit. I don't know if he has an item or he's just willing to do the walk, because this could be some pretty good stuff back here. Firebomb change, second black belt and a boomerang. So nothing overwhelmingly great, but you're not going to turn down another black belt.
Yeah, especially when you just picked up another physical fighter in Sid, letting him be able to bonk with his hammer, or if he decides to upgrade to the Earth Hammer as well, a little bit harder is going to be nice. And we see Dark Knight Cecil there at the Fabul defense spot. We've got some tanky characters, especially with Sid, and that's not a super strong spot. Very easy to just take the 3 dark waves. JudgeJoe gets through it really easily, and we're going to get another key item check very shortly.
Let's see if this check actually pays off with the aforementioned key item.
Ooh, there's the hook. Now that hook seed is looming large with that item being found there. A poison axe in a chest. Like, you see that poison axe right there and you think, ooh, I just spent a lot of money on that Earth Hammer. That might be a little bit disappointing. But on the other hand, Kane can also equip axes.
Yeah, I think that's the best they would have for Kane so far, right?
Unless I miss something, which is very easy to do with our runners going this fast. So we'll see where JudgeJoe heads to next. Looks like going to go ahead and get that hovercraft active. That means I think we're looking at an Eblin cave dive if he's prioritizing this right now. Might want to check to see what the character is there and possibly do some looting as well. Joe hasn't done as much looting as Keddril has up to this point.
Going to be our first gated character check there at the hook. Which is significant because under this flag set, 2 characters are gated, and they are Cecil and Fusoya. I think finding a Cecil would drive you up Mount Ordeals to unlock his full potential as a paladin. Even a Fu might do that to unlock all of Fu's spells, and you wouldn't want to miss out on having either of those characters early. If your opponent had it 5 or 10 minutes before you did, that could be a advantage.
And then JudgeJoe proves me wrong by heading over to, after dropping off the hovercraft in Eblin, heading right over to Baron. Looks like you're going to get a Baron in check right now, as well as a little bit of looting beforehand while Keddril has defeated that Dark Elf. Ooh, nice character in Baron, Rosa the White Mage.
And a nice Dwarf Axe to back row both your Sid and, more importantly, your Kane. But yeah, that hovercraft, a little bit of valet service. Hopefully they keep their ticket so they can go pick it up later.
Also a Mute Knife in there. That's something that hits a surprising amount of bosses on their type weakness for all mage-type enemies. So, and there's a number of bosses who fit that category, and so it's very nice to pick that up. And if not, it's a decent buff of the Black Magic stat for Paladins as well.
To answer a question in chat, and if you haven't seen Free Enterprise since the latest update, in the past, Edge and Fusoya were the 2 default gated characters, but now I believe you can set it to be any character you like, and either you, Rex, or someone in chat can remind me what the exact new flag name is for that. But yep, under this flag set, Fu and Cecil are the gated characters.
Yeah, I think it's like C restrict and then the names of the characters, but I could be remembering that wrong too.
That sounds right to me.
And we've got Pale Dim here in the Baron Inn. This is the first or the second boss?
This is the second.
Okay, then I think Sid must have some anti-dragon, maybe a piece of Dragoon gear, because this spot usually punches pretty hard, but Sid's not taking much damage from Pale Dim at all.
Yeah, that Pale Dim, I think, would have been dead with those hits. And this is one of the spots where Palom really can't help out yet, because I don't think this Palom knows Virus, and his best options right now would be level 2 elemental spells, but Pale Dim absorbs them and would actually gain hit points if Palom were to cast them. So JudgeJoe knows not to do that, and it's just getting the physical damage in and whittling away at the several thousand HP that are at this spot.
Yeah, that's really rude of the Pale Dim to absorb all those elements for us. Yeah, looks like Keddril is still doing a lot of looting here. Saw a samurai bow be picked up in Antlion Cave. I'm not sure if Joe picked that up on the way, but that would be another pretty decent option for Sid. Archer Sid, I think, is something that a lot of runners, I don't know, I wouldn't say they shy away from it, but it's not like the first thing on their minds.
Yeah, definitely not the first thing on my mind with Sid, but absolutely an option, especially if you can leverage arrows that hit weaknesses, if you have a really good bow. So we'll see if that gets used. If somehow Keddril could find Artemis arrows before this paled him, he would be through that fight much quicker than JudgeJoe. Just JudgeJoe doesn't have the weaponry to take advantage and is doing a good job. Sid, chat points out, is wearing a Dragoon hat, which is reducing that damage, and is also a really good name for a group here in our tournament.
Oh, there is that Earth Crystal. So we might have a trip back over to Toria in the future for JudgeJoe. We still are looking at a hook seat at this point, but we now have an option in the Tower of Zot for a key item check, and that Mount Ordeal play is still there as well.
I don't know about you, Rex, but I'd be awfully tempted by that treasury, and I'd be running there pretty quickly to collect all of my goodies.
Yeah, I'm with you, Corbs. That if I get that Earth Crystal, especially this early in a seed, I go there right away. And it's going to be maybe the last looting you need to do, because you'll get really good gear and lots of money as well. Anything you don't need, you can sell.
So in the community, we call it the party rock, but it's the treasury, right? The party's in the basement, and it's all party favors. That's what we're talking about, right?
It goes down in the basement. That's where it's at. Meanwhile, Keddril is going to get a peek at Mount Ordeal. So this is some real divergence. We've already seen some divergence in the looting strategy, but Keddril now making the priority over to Mount Ordeals, whereas JudgeJoe went to the Baron Inn at that point too. So this is going to be interesting. And now we get to see what's in this treasury and see if there's something really spicy for Kane.
Yeah, I believe probably Avenger might be the biggest difference maker. The tier lists allow Dragoon Spear pretty good. Would have been nice to have that one fight earlier.
And there was a curse ring, which is always a nice tool for agility management. But overall, I kind of felt that was a bit of an underwhelming treasury. What do you think about that, Corbs?
Yeah, I would just really desire that Avenger, but if they are going to go directly up Zot, or if there's a dragon type enemy on the hook route now, I guess we've seen two already, because we've seen the D-Lunars and we've seen Paledym. A Wyvern and a Dark Elf in the second form. How many more dragons do we have?
Well, there's also the Gold Dragon Grind, which is something that may come up, but we'll see. But it makes those Gold Dragons go down really easy, or King Ryus, whichever name you want to refer to them as. It looks like Keddril's through that first fight, going to get to this back attack here on Mount Ordeals, where JudgeJoe is making that play right up to Zot. More gated characters up there as well, as Keddril fights the elements.
Didn't have any problem here with the gear. Depends, I guess, how much Ruby gets to hang around and how that affects the party, but Ruby's not getting to hang around. That's a one-shot jump, skipping the other three forms in the crumble. And
yeah, I believe that was, he switched back over to the fire sword, so hit the weakness on that, making it very, very easy to get that down in one shot, so very nicely done.
Ooh, looks like JudgeJoe is hunting the Flame Dog and finding it right up the middle of the Trident. Let's see if JudgeJoe kind of hits a gear home run right here. Yeah,
this is... At this point, it's going a little bit out of your way, because it's not one of the two chests that are kind of easily walkable from the beginning. So going into a little bit of a path. So trying to hit a home run here, and we'll see what happens as that Flame Dog goes down. This is kind of not bad, but not the home run. I'd say that was more of a double.
Nope, but it's not a lunar staff. It's not one of those items that you get and you just shake your head. So yeah, Listen, Paul O'Neill hit lots of doubles, and he was excellent. So Zeus Gauntlet, pretty useful there. And even though he did have to go out of his way, he didn't have to do the thing where you open every single chest in that section. He got it on the first try.
Yeah, Paul O'Neill, I remember more from Seinfeld, but that's okay. Meanwhile, Keddril has now completed Mount Ordeals, got the Luca key. So we still don't have underground access other than the hook. That magma key is still out there, but it might be behind the underground already, unless it's through this chain that's starting here in the Earth Crystal on the Tower of Zod.
Yeah, so Ordeals is required. That is one of our objectives. If you're new to this tournament, this, unlike some of our earlier ones, this is a full complete. You must do every single objective to get your crystal to enable you to damage and defeat Zeromus at the end of this. So eventually JudgeJoe will have to make their way up there. But right now he's dealing with Baigen. And yeah, I was wondering how much damage that Earth Hammer, that's unfortunately not a powerful quake, but it does hit all three parts of Baigen.
Yeah, this one's a little bit rough. That's going to be a lot of HP there for this point in the game, considering the levels of our characters on the body of Baigen here. Because remember, this is taken from the vanilla Maga Sisters, and so basically all of the Sandy, Cindy, and Mindy's HP together are totaled, and then rearranged in how the HP is divided for Baigen, between the arms and the body. So the body's going to get a big chunk of that. So every time these arms go down and get coming back, you still have to figure out how you're going to deal the damage to Baigen. These Gaia drums do a good job of keeping the arms at bay for a while, but they just keep coming back.
I mean, at least that front arm isn't like casting virus at you, but it is still three parts. Kind of a nice little symmetry there, 3 parts and 3 parts.
Yeah, but the Maga Sisters are split a little bit more evenly than Baigen is.
Yeah.
And with Palom not having access to Quake yet, the question is, do you try to bounce spells off of the walls that Baigen is providing for you with Palom? Or, because I know there's a couple Gaia drums, but I think they might be run off. And yeah, we're going with reflected strategies. And that's the unfortunate thing, that Lit 2 reflected still can hit an arm. You really want it to hit that body because that's where you need to do the most damage.
Yeah, if you can time that right at the moment where the arms go down and then it lands while they're still down, that's exact. That would be the goal. But probably still worth taking the chance. But looks like we're about through. So nice job by JudgeJoe.
Yeah, once that body goes down, as long as you've got at least 2 characters alive, you're good to go, because it could explode and kill one of your characters, the arms. Well, if you had 2 arms, then you want at least 3 characters alive. But we had 1, so yeah. Either way, it didn't even explode. JudgeJoe got through it. Took a little bit of time, but well done managing that with these relatively low levels.
Nice job, too, getting Palom up at the end. Got Palom to Virus. Not quite Quake yet, but Virus could prove useful in the Zot 2 fight, as we're hopefully about to see JudgeJoe get through it. We'll see the characters, and we'll get a sneak peek at the Golbez spot boss.
Meanwhile, Keddril now going into that pale dim fight that we saw JudgeJoe take a little bit earlier. Oh, a blue robe in Dwarf Castle. That's
I was just thinking, like, the 2 things you don't want to see are a Lunar Sparkle if you haven't seen Wyvern yet, and a blue robe if you don't know what it is yet, because the blue robe could be the alt gauntlet, which can be nasty if your party is not highly enough leveled at when you hit Dwarf Castle. I mean, whoever thought up the alt gauntlet?
Looks like we also have the Paladin Cecil, the gated character, up there on the Tower of Zod, along with a bard. I imagine there's a good likelihood that Cecil will be joining the squad. Oh, but no, I guess I'm wrong. JudgeJoe, liking what he's got right now in the team, or maybe he'll be coming back later, wants a Cursed Cid to anchor for this upcoming fight in the Vanilla Valvula spot. Really interesting choice there. Do you think you would have taken Cecil, Corks?
So really, I think he probably, Cecil wasn't going to do a lot here. So maybe waiting until he completes Ordeals and gets the Paladin online. Maybe he just wanted the full power of this, and if Cecil were to survive and get levels as a Dark Knight, that doesn't really matter. So maybe that was the thinking. Just kind of maximize your chance to get through this as quickly as you can and get the experience on the right people.
I think that's pretty reasonable, and it's also pretty reasonable to think I've done a lot of looting so far, and I don't have we didn't find an Avenger or a lightsaber or something that you really want Cecil to have. Everything good that I've got I can use with Kane. Sid's a great anchor, and I've got a black mage and a white mage that are both pretty powerful right now. I might just be good with this squad.
JudgeJoe fighting Octo. Got to get more of those tentacles down to slow Octomom down, because Sid's taking a decent amount of damage even in the back row. Those cane jumps, though, are doing a pretty nice job. Maybe only one or two more of those, or if Palom can land a lit 2, or Sid sacrifices himself to do a few hundred points of damage. That would have been a nice spot to kind of take out Octo with the kamikaze.
Yeah, might have been trying to time it to get the crumbleless finish, but just shy. The virus is able to finish off Octomom, and JudgeJoe is going to get experience on all the characters that he wants to gain experience.
And usefully, Rosa now knows Exit, which is always good to have Exit in your toolbox.
Yeah, one of those things that's a quirk of Final Fantasy IV. Rosa does not learn Exit by leveling up. She only learns it by having the party complete the Tower of Zot. So even if JudgeJoe had ditched her, if he picked up Rosa later, then she would have Rosa in her spell list.
Yep. Let's see if Zot pays off with anything other than that. Cecil, an elixir, really nice item, not progression. We'll see if I would be very surprised if JudgeJoe did not do Ordeals before the hook.
Yeah. But we know it's now an official hook route. There are no more key item checks left available for our runners on the Blue Planet's overworld.
Yeah, in previous flag sets, you might be thinking, let's go find that Demas and see if Demas leads to the Magma Key. But if you weren't here for the beginning of the race, you missed both runners going to get the free item in Troya from Eddie. So that's one of the flags that has been turned on for this. You get your free item. No Demas hunt, no boss hunts at all during this tournament.
Keddril now going up the Tower of Zot. And while these runners are kind of mirroring what they had done, each the other one had done before, let's take some quick time to shout out the rest of our restream team. We do have Allie doing the restreaming tonight and Dubward doing the tracking. Big shout outs to both of them, because without them, we do not have a show, and we love putting on shows for y'all.
We sure do. Thank you, Alicel and Dubward. Well, looks like Keddril... Zeus Gauntlet parody is incoming.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be interested to see if Keddril also wanted to search for this trap chest, and it looks like both of our runners are on Flame Dog hunts today. So they'll both have that Zeus Gauntlet, as you said, which is admittedly a very nice item. It's just not the all-star that you can get with adamant armors, crystal swords, and stuff in these trap chests in this flag set.
I would certainly, once both runners have knowledge of Cecil, which Keddril's going to get soon, having to complete Ordeals, not necessarily before the hook, but both runners are doing it, I would then... I find myself very heavily drawn toward the Eblin traps to look for some of those big items, just for the percentage of maybe finding an Adamant, maybe finding an Excal, or the ultimate crystal sword. So we'll see how much they value taking the time to do traps like that, or they might choose to just dive down the hook, because there's 2 trap chests along the hook route as well. So that could kind of change the timing of when one of these runners gets through the hook versus the other.
I agree. I think that's going to be really interesting to see what our runners decide to do with that, because they're also going to have the Paladin Cease is going to be at base level, at least for Joe, if he decides to go back and recruit him from Mysidia. Keddril might keep him. We'll see if he does, and if he survives the Octomam, he'll have a little bit of a lead on levels, and then otherwise, it's like these trap chests are also a way to get Cecil up to speed relatively quick, especially the chests that have the Mad Ogres. They have a pretty good XP rate on them.
Tracker Dubward pointing out that JudgeJoe went for the crumble skip again, and this time nailing it on the second Ordeals fight. So nicely done there. Swing and a miss from Palom against the Karate Man. Takes 2 strikes from Kane. And JudgeJoe, I think, is going to be the first one to show us kind of the plan here as we try to get underground.
Yeah, Keddril really not far behind. Just has to finish this Baigan fight and then Octomam, and then he'll be right there too. So, but Keddril did a little bit more looting, so might have a little bit better gear, a little bit more money. Although they both did the treasury, so that's going to be the big thing.
Man, we have seen a lot of arms tonight, haven't we?
Yeah, but that's the thing with this this Baigan in this particular location with the levels that we're at. There's just not a whole lot of easy ways to get through this at this point. Kane's the best bet with that. I think Keddril's rocking a Governor Spear along with the bandana, black belt gi, and a Zeus gauntlet, I think. So that's pretty good, and he does make it through that Baigan fight there.
Someone should go back and count the number of Baigan arms we've seen versus the number of Octomom tentacles, because I think the number would be pretty close.
Ooh, that is really interesting too. Lots of appendages up here. Ooh, JudgeJoe getting rid of the Sid as the anchor Sid to go for, wants to keep both mages and just kind of up the overall strength by getting the Paladin onto the squad.
Yeah, in terms of the hook route fights, both runners having the curse ring, they should be able to kind of decide who gets it, depending on the boss and the gear that they find. Could be Palom, unless Palom gets the Quake, which my guess is he's gonna, because it looks like JudgeJoe is gonna go for some traps. But if Quake is not the answer, maybe Palom gets the curse ring to allow melee fighters swing what JudgeJoe is probably hoping is going to be a holy sword.
This is also an interesting thing because neither of our runners have gone to Evelyn at all yet. So we see JudgeJoe pausing on each chest. Like, do I want this, or do I want to use that R trigger to ditch it right away? Finding some good stuff. This actually would have been a pretty nice loot place right at the start. But so far, no trap chest, so we don't have that high tier gear found yet. But there was a white spear and another Zeus gauntlet. That's not nothing.
Not nothing. Inventory full of good stuff. JudgeJoe going around and making space, deleting stuff no longer needed, including the Earth Hammer.
Now Keddril's on that Octomam boss. Also, but he did take Cecil right away. So if Cecil stays alive, then he'll have a little bit more experience on Cecil than JudgeJoe has.
Yeah, just a quirk of your routing choices. Did the character transform before or after? JudgeJoe threw the crystal ring, pretty high defensive item on that Palom. Finding another one, so we've got 2 Zeus gauntlets, 2 crystal rings, which kind of nicely mesh with the party that JudgeJoe currently has.
I think that was actually the 3rd Zeus gauntlet, but still. And also a ribbon, very, like, the gear has been very good here in Evelyn today, and I think that is Quake, so that's a nice sign. That's going to make this fight especially very easy for JudgeJoe to get through.
I have a feeling we're getting at least an Excal out of one of these three based on this loot. This seed is being pretty generous. The treasury wasn't great, but everything else has been provided. Here it comes, Holy Sword, come on.
Well, there you go. Way to call that one, Gorgs. Very nicely done.
And is this we're about to leave? Is that enough?
I would leave. Like, I'd be very happy. Oh, he's going for it. So wants to see if he can spike an adamant armor as well, I'm guessing here. Like, might as well at this point. Like, you got, like, everything is going so good in here. Might as well give it another shot, right?
The peanut butter and jelly of the equipment world, your adamant and your crystal sword. Cecil's the bread, maybe? I'm not sure if this analogy is holding up, but this is good stuff.
Also, Quake paying off again here. And, yeah, Keddril now done through that, taking the hovercraft over to Evelyn. We'll see if he decides to go in the castle and see if he gets rewarded with that crystal sword as well. And he is, so again, it looks like we're going to have some parity once again.
Yeah, I hope so for Keddril's sake, because that would be a major disparity if not having the crystal sword. You just can't say there are not enough superlatives to when you have a crystal sword paladin 30 minutes into a seed versus someone that doesn't. The amount of advantage one would have over the other.
The sword is so strong. Like, it is so strong. I can't stress enough how good it is when you've got it. And that's really the reason why Cecil is restricted in this flag set, is because the potential of these crystal swords with Cecil on there, it just makes it so good. He's so good with that. And so with that being a little bit harder to obtain, that helps. But we've got it here, and yeah, making short work of these mad ogres now.
Yeah, mentioning the restriction of Cecil or Cecil, because there are seeds like this where you get both the Holy Sword and the Cecil, but then there's the other ones where you get that Holy Sword, and then I will then start doing basically every gated character check I can.
Oh yeah.
And, get disappointed at Dwarf and get disappointed at Package, but this seed, not really any disappointments here.
I didn't see the reward in that last chest. It went so fast on JudgeJoe's screen. I wonder, did you see it, Corgs, or if anyone in the chat saw it, can let us know? That would be awesome. Protect ring. Okay. Thank you, Ring.
Yeah, I was going to stall until someone in chat said it, and then I was going to take credit, but you grabbed it, which is fine.
I'll give you credit for the next one I missed. Okay?
so many defensive options in JudgeJoe's inventory.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Keddril got that crystal sword as well. He did not do the other two trap chests. Was just very happy. Like, I got a Cecil, I got a crystal sword, I'm good. JudgeJoe went and did the other trap chest. Basically, full cleared Evelyn Castle, and that allowed Keddril a little bit of time and has kind of narrowed the gap between them along this hook route here.
Yeah, that is true, because there was good stuff in those chests, but nothing overwhelming. We got the defense sword, but I think we already had a white spear, or at least a dragoon spear, or both actually, and the protect ring, but we already had crystal rings and Zeus gauntlets, so
yeah.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. So we tightened up a little bit, and no harm in fading this character, and there's going to be lots of harm going to the Ruby Spot boss, which is a dark elf. I don't know if the Dark Elf was able to see the crystal sword, strapped to Cecil's back, but that's probably why he just ran away.
If I was the Dark Elf and I saw a crystal sword wielding Cecil, I would run as far away as I can, as quickly as possible, because that thing cuts through the Dark Elf like butter.
Maybe when they approach the Ruby Spot, the Dark Elf will just step aside and say, "Here is your pitfall, sir. Please enjoy the ride. I want no quarrel."
Well, I think that time thing is going to be moving back to where it was beforehand, because Keddril has opted to loot Evelyn Cave now. Might be looking for that other trap chest in here, but just... Or I know that he just spent a lot of money on Sirens, wants to get his bank account a little bit higher by getting some more treasures here, but JudgeJoe did not loot anything here, and so he's just walking straight through. It's really interesting, again, to see the difference in philosophies where and when runners loot in this flag set.
Lots of variance for sure in results, in method. I think right now on Keddril's side, essentially an adamant armor would be the only thing to pay off.
Yeah.
I mean, a power shirt would be nice for sure, but we already have the best weapon in all of history of everything.
I might give it to the chainsaw in Final Fantasy Legend 1, but yeah, I mean, that's the Crystal Sword is close too.
Yeah.
Here are the Magus Sisters in the vanilla King Queen of Evelyn spot. This is not a scary spot to find the Magus Sisters, I don't think, especially with access to Quake, although JudgeJoe a little light on HP there, and Palom takes a whack from Cindy and goes down in one hit.
Their magic attack won't be too impressive here, though. You know, you hit someone with only a couple hundred hit points, it'll still take him out. But the punch, this spot's known for its punchiness, and Palom got punchied.
Yeah, but this Quake should be able to finish him off, and then you are rewarded with Cindy's a bit more resilient than you'd think, and well, there she goes. Yeah, you are rewarded with a free heal before the boss of the next spot, so that Dark Elf fight will be at full strength for the squad. And it's also interesting, Joe has decided to go and put that curse ring on Rosa for this fight. Figure the other three characters are going to be the main damage dealers. Going to be interesting if he wants to go with that same strategy for the next fight. I imagine he will, knowing that it's Dark Elf.
Yeah, Rosa could still land, Curse Rosa could still land a Berserk. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he swapped it to Palom and got the early swing into Berserk, and that would basically just end the fight. Don't anticipate a safety save here with the knowledge of these runners and how overpowered they know they're going to be against this elf who did not step aside, is choosing to fight. Bad call, Dark Elf.
Yeah, should have kept running. I think the argument for keeping it like this instead of swapping, as you said, is just more time. Like, the JudgeJoe is strong enough to beat it as is right now. It doesn't have to go into the menu to swap around the curse ring and the positioning and everything like that. Just go right into it. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Do we have a piggy paladin?
Yeah, we do. I believe, correct, well, we'll see here. I don't think pigs can be zerked.
That is true. Yep. Zerk fails, but the pig can still swing the sword at full effectiveness.
Yeah.
Dark Elf doing its darndest to make this fight a little challenging. Keddril through the Magus Sisters, about to join JudgeJoe. If he gets kind of better RNG with his piggy cast, this is a chance to catch up.
Also, yeah, this Quake is going to fail because pigs can't cast spells. So the status effects rearing their ugly head here in this fight for JudgeJoe. And yeah, the positioning in the battle is a little bit different, how Keddril's got it set up with Palom in the center spot being the anchor for this fight rather than Rosa.
All right,
but yeah.
Yep, 40-20 crumble. This is a close race we have here, Rex, because Keddril's not going to be that far behind.
No, and like Dark Elf is like the poster child for the Crystal Sword doing what it does best.
Yeah.
This is a pretty low-level Cecil swinging for like 6,000 plus damage. So yeah, that's some real power there.
Maybe on the poster, tacked on the other side of the wall would be a Mylon Z, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And you got JudgeJoe now into the underworld, and we've got the Luca key, which is an objective for completing the sealed cave. But other than that, there isn't really anything that we have. Like, we don't have a tower key, we don't have a pan, so we don't have anything that really points to any of the other spots in the underworld. So it's going to be, it's basically free reign for Joe to go where he wants to go here.
Yeah, I didn't see if he picked up any sirens.
I think he got a small handful. Keddril bought a lot. I think Judge Joe bought a small amount. And yeah, I think cracking an egg or two doesn't seem like a bad idea, especially with a crystal sword in hand.
Yeah, I think an egg or two, you have that Dragoon Spear to essentially one shot, and then I would head right to Sealed Cave, do the objective, and see if it leads into something else. Judge Joe kind of hovering around the area, going over to Tamra. We'll see if any of the level 5 goodies here. Star Veil's useful.
Yeah, you always get a couple Star Veils in the starting kit in this flag set, but having a little bit more is always makes you feel a bit safer. And I don't hate going to item shops right away when you're in the underground because of those good items. And it looks like Joe's going to go right into the Sealed Cave after that before shopping or grinding or anything. Might feel like his squad's pretty strong, but this is a pretty end game boss.
It is, and then I mentioned the sirens, but I also in the back of my head thought, listen, if you can berserk up the crystal sword wielding Cecil, then you'll be absolutely fine. In almost every case here, yes, it's a challenging spot. The curse ring takes away a lot of that challenge. We'll see if Keddril gives us a peek. I don't think JudgeJoe peeked the top of the tower. Keddril does. Okay.
Blue robe.
We know where the other one is. We got a blue robe at Dwarf 2 in the Golbez spot. We have a blue robe at the top of the tower. We don't know which is which.
Yeah, one of them will be the very easily defeated Water Hag, and the other one will be the, well, honestly, really also easily defeated but annoyingly long Alt Gauntlet.
Yeah, I think I would definitely rather have the Gauntlet at the top of the tower. There's a couple one-shot enemies, and if you set up Palom when you do it, and it happens to be a dwarf, then you want to set that up for, to get your AOE Quake or Virus off in with the first action if you can. So we'll see if the runners have that in mind when they head to dwarf.
And Keddril is taking that time to crack a few eggs here after using some camping gear. And going to be switching over to that Dragoon Lance, I imagine. Yep. And yeah, these eggs will easily be one shot by Keen here. If this boss proves to be tough, then that can end up being this could be a pretty big time drain for JudgeJoe if this is not something that's easily dispatched by the squad.
Yep, the exact boss that's here is yeah, like you said, is going to determine whether or not the eggs were necessary or not, and if time is gained and lost here.
Yeah, but if this is something that's easily taken care of, then JudgeJoe might not have to worry about grinding for a lot of it. Power Shirt's a pretty nice pickup. Other than the adamant armor, this is what's going to give you the best boost to your damage. It doesn't give the great defense, especially when it comes to magic defense, but it's very good to find that, because usually your defense is defeating your enemies quickly.
Welcome in, Raiders. You're here for a very close race. Our two runners got through the hook route about a minute and a half behind. JudgeJoe has chosen to do the Sealed Cave without a grind. Keddril choosing to grind first. And Rex, I don't think JudgeJoe is getting punished for his decision.
No, this ends up very good for JudgeJoe, because you mentioned, I mentioned the poster child for Crystal Sword dealing a lot of damage as that Dark Elf that we saw, but you were quick to mention Violent Z is right there too, and here we see it.
Octo 9s, and the fight is over.
Yeah, pretty easy. And the first objective of the seed is done by JudgeJoe here at about 45 minutes in, and so that's pretty nice. And I believe we're at a high enough level. Yep, we've got warp, so we can get out of here quickly too. Very nice overall here for JudgeJoe. This early Sealed Cave paid off really well.
We're now back in the same position. We have no exact direction. The sealed cave did not give us a key item that is leading somewhere else. So JudgeJoe now has a decision to make. Where would you be pulled, Rex?
I think, given the gear that we've got, and I think for both of the runners, the levels, I think the Fae March makes the most sense. There's a lot of checks there, and I think there's a decent number of bosses that can be done right now. So that's kind of where I'd be pulled, mostly because of the density of key items there.
There's a good chance our runners might be in those fights at the same time, because that's where Keddril's choosing to go first. We'll see if JudgeJoe follows. And sorry, Rex, what were you going to say?
Well, I was also going to say I probably would avoid the tower and the Dwarf Castle with those blue robes looming. If I can avoid taking an alt gauntlet, I'm going to avoid taking an alt gauntlet. Oh, Baron Key found in Fae March. That is pretty important for our runners, since Liberate Baron Castle and the Baron Castle Basement Throne are both objectives. So that's 2 objectives that can be done with that 1 key item. The Baron Key, I've found, has been very important in this flag set.
Might have been a little more fun for us as viewers if that was buried on the moon somewhere, but yeah, that Baron Key leading to 2 additional checks in addition to completing the 2 objectives. If things work out, we could be on a pretty quick seed here with the power, but plenty of key items still required. Hopefully at least some of them are tucked away on the moon for our runners to go find. But they could hit 1 or 2 more possibly here at these summon spots in the Fae March. Unlikely perhaps to get 2, but we'll see how they end up here.
Well, I think we're 4 key items away from go mode right now. We still need the Sand Ruby, we need the Pink Tail, we need the Darkness Crystal, and we need the Tower Key.
Yeah, it's entirely possible they come from the Fae March and Baron and you're done, but we have one fairly free fight and another fight that's a little more challenging and would be very difficult to do with a weaker party, but I would expect both runners to take care of both of these.
Yeah, I would say Keddril is set up pretty well to take on that Kainazo fight, having taken those eggs before going down to the Fae March. JudgeJoe's a few levels behind us, so that wave is going to be positioning closer to the deadly side for his squad, though the wave damage is, of course, based on the current health of Kainazo, and with the ability to deal a lot of damage really quickly with Cecil, that damage is going to go down relatively quickly. But the question is it going to be quickly enough?
Yeah, I think without taking damage, I think it's going to be in like the 12 to 1500 range, somewhere like that. So yeah, you would want ideally like a Bacchus with Cecil going first to immediately berserk him would be, would probably allow Cecil to solo the fight.
Both of our runners have gotten the Twin Heart for defeating the easier of the fights, the Bahamut in the Queen spot. And now the question is, looking at some agility setups there on JudgeJoe's screen, not immediately exiting. So I think both of our runners are going to give this Kainazo a try. And I think it's within both of their capabilities to do it. We'll see how smoothly it goes for both of our runners very shortly, because this is going to be very interesting, I think.
We'll see if the extra time Keddril spent doing some eggs leads to a significantly faster fight, or a fight that perhaps gets done the first time.
Yeah, and we haven't found Bacchus's, so not able to do that, and probably did not like seeing Rosa get hit by the first punch there for Keddril.
Looks like we got one lightning item.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's going to hit with the timing and the... Oh, it's hitting, but the wave, I think, still might be coming out here.
Probably queued up, yeah. That's another one of those kind of weird things about Final Fantasy IV in general. The action cue that's kind of unseen behind it. Ooh, that was pretty nasty. I think this is a reset for Keddril here.
Yeah, that was definitely 100 or 200 points of damage. A little higher than I thought it was going to be. And I think Cecil stays alive on JudgeJoe's side, but we'll see if this fast...
This Berserker is hitting a lot, but is it going to be fast enough gathering the water? The next thing is the wave. If we can get hiding in the shell right away.
Well,
I don't think that's fast enough.
That's going to be a really tiny little wave. I think this is at least going to be a couple 100 points of reset before we even see it.
All right, take 2 for Keddril. Yeah, this is a tough fight. Seeing the pound, like, you don't want to see anyone go down, but this spot here, this Leviathan spot, the physical attack is so high here that almost anyone that it hits is going to either be in critical or knocked out by one hit. So no access to that lit 1. Here comes the first wave on Keddril's side. Everybody's still up. So that's a good start.
Yeah, this fight could be stabilized if you can get that cure off. We got a cure 3 potion being thrown, cure 3 spell. So I think Keddril's going to be fine here, and these extra levels from the Sirens might prove to be big unless JudgeJoe can kind of either match some timing, kind of combine Berserks with at least the 1 lightning item. I don't know, did JudgeJoe also have that lit bolt?
I'm not sure, because that wasn't in the starter kit, so it depends on where it was looted, and we know the looting routing was considerably different for both of our runners. We got hiding in the shell over on Keddril. I think Keddril's through this fight.
Got JudgeJoe attempting a lit 1 with Palom. I think it has a chance. Still going to be tricky, though.
So hard to see the timing and the speeds and everything to really know if it's actually early enough. Oh, there comes the wave. See how much damage it does to Cecil. Oh.
Well,
but it might be enough. Oh, the physical.
Except for the punch, yep.
Ooh,
wow.
And that's a pretty big find in that spot. That could be important. It does give 2 more key item checks. So I bet Keddril's very satisfied, and he's got through it, whereas JudgeJoe is now going to attempt number 3. I think a couple extra levels actually really did help Keddril on that fight.
Yeah, didn't matter at all in terms of sealed cave, but huge. When you have Keinatsu throwing those waves in a high hit point spot, that's pretty terrifying. So it might prove to be a pretty important moment, taking the couple minutes to do those eggs, especially now we have, with the 2 pan checks, the Sheila 1 check, the 2 Baron checks. I mean, they could potentially lead to the items that we need for go mode.
And we see JudgeJoe cycling through his inventory, looking for any Zeus Rages, any Thor Rages, any Lit Bolts. Doesn't have them. Keddril had the 1. This time, Palom got hit by the punch, so no access to that Lit 1 for JudgeJoe in this attempt. Meanwhile, Keddril's bonking Yang with the pan and gets the spoon. That is a key item, but it does not progress.
Yeah, a big moment will be when Keddril turns in the second Sheila check, the pan turn, and if that does not yield to progress, and JudgeJoe eventually kind of calls it and fades the turtle here, then the damage will be minimized. But if it hits any of the needed items, then JudgeJoe definitely would need to get this done either now or later.
I think Joe's got it this time because he was able to time when the wave gets out and have Kane be in the air, and so able to heal up Cecil with that Cure 3, and we're hiding in the shell. So this fight definitely took a bit longer for JudgeJoe to get through, but he's going to be able to get through it at this point now. So not too much behind Keddril on that. Of course, Keddril still has to complete that sealed cave that Joe has already completed.
Yeah, really nice job by JudgeJoe with that. When you can jump those big damage things, whether it's a mega nuke or a big wave, big payoff, and JudgeJoe's going to be pretty happy that he did not leave that one behind.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the package is the other item that was gotten out. Sheila 1 having a Stardust Rod, which is nice, but the package being the key item as well as the spoon, neither of them are required in this particular seed. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but it's not going to, it is end up something that's gained Keddril a little bit of time. A little bit unfortunate for Joe.
Just a fun day at the water park.
Now, zipping over to another place where we mentioned there's a couple of objectives here in Baron. So Keddril is going to head over there. We're going to get those, and there's another couple of key item checks as well as a character check. I don't know. I don't think our runners are really looking for characters at this point. What are there any characters that you take right now here, Corbs?
I mean, I suppose the only one would be Fusoya, just because of his utility, his big power, and the fact that you can always put that curse ring on him to be your anchor later on if you need to. So that I think that would be the only person who might make the team. I don't think they found any great weapons for an edge yet, and both Kane and Cecil have what they need. They have endgame gear.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree with you there. I think one of our runners at least had a ninja sword in their inventory at one point, but that's not enough to outfit Edge. Edge really needs, he's hungry for gear. When he's got it, he's really good, but when he doesn't, he feels it.
Our restreamer Alice pointing out, could be a second Cecil. So this flex, it allows what, for one dupe?
Yeah, one dupe character.
So I think we only have one holy sword, but yeah, a second Cecil might be tempting. The defense sword, yeah, that would definitely probably get a moment of pause if I saw a second paladin show up.
I see JudgeJoe dropping off that hovercraft. I think this is just to save time. We know that Pinktail is an objective that the runners will have to go later, and figures well in the neighborhood. I might as well get this done right now. So yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. The only argument would be is if you wanted to go back, but I don't think we're going to need to buy any more sirens. And I think that's the only thing that was really interesting in that shop to buy.
Yeah, you typically do not need many sirens at all, but this flex with how much you end up doing, especially we know the giant's coming up. There's a good chance they'll have 10 key items by the time they get there.
Yeah, those two boss fights on the giant, that's a lot of experience, especially when it's doubled. You see, the guards have taken over the throne here in Baron Castle, but this is not a fight that's too scary, even if Rosa becomes minified.
Hey, that's a crystal sword just swinging. Not hitting 3k, but that's plenty.
Yeah, that's not a spot that has a ton. Ooh, there is the character that you said you might take there, Fusoya. So you'd probably ditch Palom if you take him, right? Oh, Keddril, not interested.
So if you haven't seen this randomizers in a while, here's a new feature, a new little Easter egg to find. We're about to stop these collapsing walls with a couple statues, but not necessarily going to be Palom and Porm. Let's see who it is today.
That's a king and one of Sid's. Is it one of Sid's helpers?
Something, yeah. Some kind of a non-king NPC for sure, but it's good that the royalty is willing to sacrifice themselves for the good of the universe as the party needs to escape.
There's the darkest crystal. That allows for the giant of Babil objective to be completed, as well as opens up all the key item checks on the moon. That's a big find. It's not like it was hidden, though. You have to do Baron in order to complete it, so...
Yeah, and JudgeJoe hot on Keddril's heels. And it looks like that puts him at 9 key items for Keddril. So Keddril probably hoping that this one yields a 10th. If that's the case, I would definitely be tempted to go to the giant next to get the end game levels. But then after that, you know, we have those 2 mystery blue robes at the underground spots, and then we have all of the moon to find both the tower key and the Pinktail and the sand ruby.
How about this Valvelus down at the Odin throne? Not really too scary for our squad. The Crystal Sword Cecil is enough to hit through it. Plus, if you want to get her out of her tornado form, we do have a pretty strong Kane on our team as well.
So many things that would normally be scary just aren't when you have this kind of team.
Yeah, I think I'd probably not want to take her out of her tornado form at all. Just leave her right now. She's very predictable when in tornado form.
No bonus punch for Val today. one of the new flags for, looks like a couple folks in chat haven't seen some of the new changes. One of the big ones here is the fact that we can now specify what kind of quests. So you might notice the flag tough quests, which removes things like complete Antline Cave or defeat the boss of Mist Cave. So it's only going to give you quests that require a key item, essentially, is one way to kind of think about it. And I think even that, there's not going to be an unlock sealed cave. It's going to be complete sealed cave. And now that second Cecil would be really fun to find. That is a second Crystal Sword.
Yeah, now it's a snap pick if you get a second Cecil, but there's only one of the characters who's going to get duplicated in this, and who knows how many character checks we're actually going to see at this point. I think we've got the Sand Ruby that has to be done. The Giant has to be done. If you can avoid it, you might not even go to the Lunar Day. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have the pass, no required moon spots. If you get all your key items, there's probably no reason to run that cutscene. And speaking of cutscenes, I was wondering if we could get the Lunar Whale Raising. Instead, Keddril has to kind of catch up with JudgeJoe having already completed Sealed Cave. So these runners are so close at this point.
Yeah, now it's, do they want to try their luck against one or both of the blue robes, or is it time to go to the moon? Because I think that's all they've got left after Keddril does this Sealed Cave, that is.
And Twin Harp, of course, still looming. Would you like to hear some music, kind of a longer walk, a longer cutscene, but could very easily have one of those needed items. And if you leave it here and complete the entire moon, that would be a bad failing coming back.
Interesting. JudgeJoe decided to do the Valvalus fight down at the bottom of Barren Throne before doing this boss of the guards. I think it saves a little bit of time, not a whole lot, because you still have to walk all the way down and up. But yes, so that just kind of emphasizes, because when I saw Joe finishing that Valve fight, I'm like, wow, Joe's really taken a pretty significant lead. But yeah, has to go through this still. He did buy some coffins that he's making use of here, so that's kind of nice.
There will be no Tiny Rosa on JudgeJoe's side.
Now we'll see if he wants the Fusia.
Fuso yeah or Fuso nah? Let's see.
Oh, we've got a Divergence and Party. The Mop
Fuso,
has
yes,
joined
please.
JudgeJoe.
So unless I'm wrong, I think I was gonna JudgeJoe maybe has the lead of basically this quick Mylon fight and the warp out of the cave at this point.
Absolutely, yeah, and I like this play by JudgeJoe to take the Fusia. I think you mentioned it before, the utility of having Fusia in its squad, I think makes up for the fact that he's a little bit less strong of a black mage than Palom is. Plus, I believe both of our runners have a Stardust Rod, so if you want to use him for black magic, he's going to be strong enough anyways.
Yeah, big nukes if needed with that Stardust Rod, with that Fu. And I think we're only a couple minutes away from finding out. Do we have a Water Hag waiting at the second spot, or do we have the Alt Gauntlet? Unless this is just a shopping trip, which is also possible.
Yeah, this is the gated shop here in Underground that neither of our runners have checked yet. I might be still hoping to find those Bacchus wines. There were Tier 3s, which are nice to have, but still no Bacchuses. But yeah, we are going to get that check here in Dwarf. I think if you're doing this check now, I think you're probably also going to do the Keyless Tower. Like, that's my mindset. Like, I'm doing this to try to put off the moon and try to avoid.
And you might be just super hoping that this is the tower key, which is an objective and would make that trip to the tower pretty beneficial. Wow, 4 dolls.
Yeah, I think I might have seen this somewhere before, this fight.
We get the standard doll dance, the Calbrena dolls in their vanilla location. Let's see if we got a quake on this foo. We have a virus.
I don't know if virus is going to take out the blue dolls here. Looks like Keddril's making the same play as Joe, so once again, you can see how close our runners are right now, and we get the big doll on Judge Joe's side.
Oh, they Voltroned.
Big doll down, and Judge Joe's through the first fight as Keddril's there. We are one fight away from each other. That's how close we are.
Yeah, this Cat Claw group living up to the hype. I think there's a lot of trading back and forth so far with the wins, and we'll see how this one ends up, but can't be too much closer than what we have. We'll see if this is a quick 3 swing fight or a longer 5 battle fight in a moment here. There's the answer.
Oh, and here we are. We have the alt gauntlet right here in Dwarf Castle. I think that also further incentivizes you to do Keyless Tower, knowing that it's a water hag at the top.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we'll see.
As long as this is... Go ahead.
I think one of the interesting conundrums here with having Fusia on your squad is he very well may run out of MP before this fight is done, or this thing, because he cast quite a bit of MP on the Calbrena fight as well.
Don't know, what the ether situation is, if either runner picked them up or has any. It's not going to prevent them from...
being a little heads up and switching to virus when possible to try to conserve that MP, whereas it looks like more physical's being used over on Keddril's side.
So the difference of 10 MP, Quake to virus, 30 to 20, is that what it is?
20 to 40, I believe. 40 for Quake, 20 for virus. It might be 25 for virus. Maybe somebody... It's 30 for Quake Demarine? I thought it was 40. Oh, I was wrong.
But yeah, definitely a savings. Let's see, and he's down to that 40 right now. I don't think the single virus takes out the Black Lizzes unless the Stardust Rod boosted enough. Oh, it does.
Judge Joe now through with that gauntlet. Keddril is very close behind.
I guess I'm kind of rooting for one, if this isn't the tower key, for one runner to do tower and one to go moon or maybe harp. Fun to have them diverge again. We'll see if that is in the cards for us.
And here it is. It is. Oh, it's the tower key.
Dream.
I guess we know where our runners are going next.
Without a doubt.
It would be very unexpected for either of our runners to not go straight to the tower with that.
Yeah, both of these runners are too good, too experienced to pass up the easy objective and what they now know is an easy top of tower fight. And once again, we're in the spot now where these two locations could yield exactly the Sand Ruby and the Pinktail, and we could be on a go mode rocket ship to the Giant, and then on to Z via the pass, and as you kind of hinted at before, maybe not even have to go through the Lunar Dais.
And now Keddril's going to get that news very shortly as JudgeJoe is now climbing that tower.
You can measure the gap between the runners and simply the steps taken.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't count that fast.
No, keep it going. I'll handle the rest of the commentary if you just count the whole time.
Yeah, well, if I had more fingers and toes, maybe. They really help.
JudgeJoe heading right to the top. No save needed.
Yeah, when you know it's Water Hag.
I think the only thing that would prompt me to save here is if it were a Lunar Sparkle and Wyvern is still looming, but just about any other boss here would not challenge this team at all.
Well, if it was anything other than knowing it's Water Hag, I might have made the save in the lower save point, not the upper one, so that if it's nothing, I could just reset out of it and do the tower, the super cannon room instead. But
yep, that's an option as well. Perhaps save some of those steps you were counting.
Yeah. That means I might be closer to the number of fingers and toes that I actually have. So. But with the Water Hag, like, you know it's going to be a quick fight. Might as well just take the experience, not bother with the save. There's no danger. So, and then just walk it out either way. A couple more levels before going to the Giant, if we do get exactly what we need on these next two, would be pretty nice as well.
Yeah, we see 52,000 experience coming in with the 10 key item bonus, which is on for this flag set. Not a key item, just a coffin, but you'll take essentially that egg's worth of experience, head down to the super cannon, and well, we know we're not in go mode yet, even after the super cannon, so we'll see what the plan is. I guess the options are now the harp or the moon.
Yeah, and I think that's a tougher choice than this Water Hag at Keyless Tower for sure. Well, the Evil Wall, which could have been a scary fight at like the CPU spot or something, is now off the table because it is in a very easy spot here in the Super Cannon room.
Keddril did drop a save, but choosing to keep the experience. Again, wouldn't be a huge time save to reset out of that, and you'd lose out on the 52K.
Yeah, and it might be that Keddril, it might have slipped his mind that it was a blue robe at the top too. You know, when you're in a race situation like that, sometimes that can happen. And like, let me just take a save just in case, because that Wyvern is still out there.
Yeah, and actually, unless I missed it, I didn't think JudgeJoe peeked the top, but maybe he did. Maybe he took the step over and I missed it, but he did charge up there pretty confidently. Oh
yeah, that's a good point. I don't remember if he did either. Keddril definitely did, but
yes,
like I said, it could have slipped my mind. I know it slipped my mind in the past. That boss in the Baron spot that you see right at the beginning of the seed slips my mind in about half the runs that I do. Here on Joe's side, we're going to see the item for completing the super cannon very shortly. Keddril's just, like 4 floors behind right now? That's easier to count the number of steps.
Yeah, I like that. Measuring the gap in levels of a tower.
Well, Rat Tail keeps the hope alive for not having to do lunar checks.
And I think that's it in terms of chained key items. Everything else I'm looking at the thing is terminal. We got the rat and the harp available, but all the overworld spots have now essentially either you have access to them or they've been done.
And the moon veil. That means there's something on the moon that we'll have to do.
What an appropriate item to get. Well, again, we still have the harp. But yeah, the harp's only going to give you one thing.
Yeah, it could give either the sand ruby or the pink tail, but it can't lead to both at this time. Because as you said, everything we've got left is terminal. And JudgeJoe says, I don't want to go to Cave Magnus. I'm going to go to the moon. Or Oh no, is
Or-
saving it. And then if there's nothing in Cave Magnus, can just reset and go right back there. That's a that's a way to save a little bit of time. Instead of saving right here outside of Toria, you're right back over by Mysidia.
It's a really fun randomizer gamble, because if this is one of those items and you happen to hit the other one on your first lunar check, which very well could be Cave Bahamut, then you still save yourself so much time. Whereas if you dive the moon straight away and hit Zonk after Zonk, you're kind of bleeding time. But once again, our runners are on each other's heels. Keddril is going to do the same thing, so nothing to be gained or lost from this gamble.
Yeah, so now we've got this Cave Magnus. At this point, yeah, I don't think our runners are going to be scared of any bosses here. I think both of them are set up even so that if it is Wyvern, they're prepared for something like that.
I think over the next few minutes would be a great time to continue the counting of how many steps one runner is ahead of the other. We'll just do kind of a continuous, and 9, 10, etc., etc. We'll just keep it going. No one will object to us counting incessantly for minutes, unless of course, Rex, there's something special about to happen on stream.
Well, yeah, we're going to be quiet in just a moment. We'll see how, once we knock out Fusia here. What Edward plays on his harp is going to be randomized. We don't know what it's going to be. So it's going to be really exciting to listen to something like that. And we want you to hear that without having to listen to talk over it. So everybody sit back, relax, and enjoy some of DJ Spoony B's rockin' tunes. Nice little rendition of a very great song from a memorable scene in Final Fantasy IX, You Are Not Alone. But just a white shirt, so there's the reset there from JudgeJoe, and I imagine we'll get one also from Keddril.
Yeah, that white shirt getting left alone there, never to be worn by either runner. I'm assuming a schedule is about to reset. Or nope, deciding to keep it. Keddril did not leave a save where JudgeJoe did, so after a quick exit, maybe deciding it's worth it to give Rosa kind of her high-end mage gear.
Yeah, it does buff the white magic. It's pretty good with magic defense too, and she was just having the black belt gi before that, so it's definitely an upgrade. But it's going to end up costing Keddril a little bit of time, and with how close our runners are right now, that could be the difference. We'll see what happens on the moon though, since routing here and exactly where they find what they need. We've got that sand ruby, we've got that pink tail, we need to find them. That's the important thing. And then figuring when you do the giant too, do you do that first for the experience or do you do that last?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I'm not sure how important it is. I mean, these teams are so strong already, and with that white shirt, the cost of the time versus does it allow Rosa to survive a big bang where otherwise she wouldn't during the Z fight? With the gear they have and kind of the levels they're going to have by the time they get to Z, maybe not that big of a deal, but it could be.
And for Judge Joe, it's off to the Lunar Dais first. We're going to get that last character check, or not last, because we're going to see at least one more. Duplicate character is Rosa. I imagine Rosa will be passed here. No need for that second Rosa when we've got Fusia, who can do what Rosa can do, not as good as she can, but can do that stuff as well as what Palom can do. Plus is a very nice target for a first ring.
And that second Rosa could go get the white shirt that JudgeJoe led. That's really good planning.
And now Keddril is going to the Cave Bahamut, it looks like. So a little bit of divergence here finally. It's been a while since we've seen our runners do something different.
They have split. Let's see if JudgeJoe looking like he's going to go top down. Always a tricky, with one item needed, I think you definitely go top down, but with two, still, I think a defensible call here. Essentially both runners checking, the two upper spots. So yeah, could be a big swing if one of them hits and the other doesn't. Would be pretty amazing if they both hit. That might lend it the advantage to Keddril, because he might then go immediately do the Murasame.
Ooh, that is Golbez at the Murasame altar, and JudgeJoe does not want to take it, at least right now. Might want to go back there. He has to go through this cutscene again, though. That's a bit unfortunate to take the reset right there.
Yep, maybe that time gained from the reset after the white shirt kind of give him back now, but that's the nature of this much easier fight found on Keddril's side. Yeah,
the soldier officer fight, very easy. Used a coffin to take out the officer. That means these soldiers don't know what to do anymore. They are desperate for leadership, but they do not have it. So yeah, they'll be taken out pretty quick. And I tend to agree with you. If this ends up being one of our two needed ones here, I think Keddril's in a huge lead.
So do we see the Sand Ruby? Do we see the Pink Tail? Those are the ones Keddril wants to see right here. One of them.
I mean, that's not either of them, but...
You're not resetting.
Absolutely not. Let's slam that on Cecil as quickly as we can.
Yeah, that's the absolute best non-KI you could ever hit, especially given the fact that Cecil with the Crystal Sword has been kind of waiting for one. The Power Shirt was a good stand-in, but the understudy is no longer needed. The star of the show is now in place.
Adamant Armor, one of the best pieces of gear in the entire franchise.
And if Keddril goes down to that Golbez, that provides some pretty big advantage for the for that Golbez fight, and Keddril probably wouldn't reset out of it, assuming it's equipped, which it is.
We see JudgeJoe not going back to that Golbez. Like, there's an argument to go right back to it. Knowing where it's at, you can prep for it by afflicting your own team with status ailments, which will make the hold gas not work due to a quirk in how these status ailments work in Final Fantasy IV. Certain things override other things, so in a sense, you can turn your characters into pigs or minis, and they will not get hold. That's the long and short of it. And then that makes getting through that fight a lot easier.
Well, speaking of easy, JudgeJoe found pretty much a free fight here in the ribbon room, and I don't know if you noticed the little equipment switch that JudgeJoe just did. Fu went from all gas to all break as the crystal ring was swapped out for the curse ring. Perfect time for that, given the plague fight here in the ribbon room.
Yeah, another kind of quirk of the system is with the agility setup and berserk being applied. Even though this plague has a lot of hit points in this spot, the characters shouldn't die to the count.
Yeah, maybe JudgeJoe a little nervous. So I think he's throwing a coffin. Rosa is coffining herself, which will allow the count to reset. But like you said, I'm not sure if that was needed here, given the anchoring situation and also just the damage situation happening.
Meanwhile, it is top down for Keddril into that Golbez fight. Not resetting out of it, wants to take this fight. Didn't have any prep work to do before it, so those holds are coming in. But we do have Cecil there with the Adamant armor that helps with that fight as well. And I think that's a big factor in not resetting.
Yeah, we were talking about who would be on the poster for the Crystal Sword damage, and Golbez also, I think, up there. And yeah, combine that with Adamant to avoid any of the nasty stuff Golbez can do, pretty much should be through this fight.
JudgeJoe got just an Adamant rock, not an Adamant armor, and the Magma key for defeating that plague. So now it's off to Ashura. And it looks like the strategy is going to be power overwhelming, which I think kind of makes sense when you've got the Crystal Sword Cecil.
Yeah, she's capable of healing herself, but the damage, I think, is going to outpace her healing pretty quickly here.
Golbez down for Keddril. Unfortunately for JudgeJoe, a Cure 4 on Ashura before the wall hits, but it shouldn't be too long after that heal to get through this one. And we'll see the Sand Ruby is behind that Golbez. Ooh, that is a big blow for JudgeJoe.
The one reset, in retrospect, you didn't want to have made, or at least not without going back. We'll see how soon Keddril is able to find the Pinktail now. If Keddril commits to full top down and goes to Crystal next, and that is pink, that would be very tough for JudgeJoe to come back from. But yeah, that's JudgeJoe's going to have to get back up there to Golbez. But I don't imagine that's going to happen until the rest of the LST is cleared.
Right, I'm with you there, and that's really unfortunate because like it's totally understandable why he didn't want to commit to that fight right then. So yeah, and still nothing. That's the Legend Sword. He can get an Excalibur now. He's got both pieces of Forge, but that's not what he's looking for. Still no Pinktail found. That is the last piece of the puzzle that we're looking for. JudgeJoe still has to fight that Golbez. He does not know that yet.
So Pinktail, Crystal, or Masamune at this point, I believe, are the only two things we have left.
Yeah, and I think at this point, JudgeJoe kind of needs it to be down here at the vanilla Ogopogo spot. The Masamune on an altar. Because if this is the Crystal Sword, Keddril's done with the Lunar Subterranean. He can just go right to the Giant, and then after that, turn in that Pinktail, use the Sand Ruby, head over to Toria and fight Z. And here is Odin in that Masamune altar.
It's a spot where you'd really love to have an edge with a really great weapon and a Thunder Club. I think the Crystal Sword is going to do a good enough job. I wonder if there's any thought to a Silk Web or a Slow here, if it's needed.
This is interesting. Keddril did not go full top down. Skipped the Crystal Sword altar, went right down to the bottom. It's now in the Plague fight. Decides to reset out of it. We'll see where he goes next, or if he just wants another shot at it. But this could be the opening that Joe needs to get back into it as well.
Yeah, if this is Pinktail, though, I still think Joe can't, and it's not. So Crystal Sword altar has the answer. Yeah, I don't think JudgeJoe is out of this by any means, because he's going to quickly clear, I assume, whatever is at Crystal Sword and set up and take that Golbez. I guess the only question is he put off enough by the Golbez to go to Bahamut first? Because that's an option once you're up on the surface. Yeah,
and that's a possibility, but at least that Bahamut cave fight is very easy and won't... I mean, it'll cost some time with the walking, but the fight itself isn't that bad. And then he'll have the Adamant armor, which is going to make that Golbez fight a lot easier, too. So, like, I think if he decides to go to Cave Bahamut, it's going to end up costing him time. But I don't know. Having the adamant armor Cecil could also just gain a bunch of time for Keddril in the giant as well.
Right. If Joe, gets that Sand Ruby from Golbez without Bahamut, he would have no reason to go to Bahamut. He would, of course, have one adamant from the Pinktail trade-in. Would you do that before the giant? I'm not sure. He'll have it for Z.
Going with the Zerker strategy against the CPU, I like it. We also saw some reflect strats on Plague here for Keddril. I think this is going to end up being a slower fight for Keddril. Oh, I say that right as Plague dies, so don't listen to whatever I say.
Yep, that's
the adamant armor was also the thing, and the spear.
Yep, adamant armor, spear, and not what Keddril wants, but Keddril is through. And just like Judge Joe, I don't think either of them are saving in between these two fights. They are too strong, too confident to require save, especially when Rim Room didn't pay off.
And that, of course, is the Pinktail in Judge Joe's possession now. Now the question is, go back to Golbez or head on over to Cape Bahamut?
Well, I'm pushing my chips in the middle of the table for he's going right back to Golbez. And am I going home broke? I'm going home broke. That's it, everyone. I'm going to need to GoFundMe.
Out of chips is Michael.
Oh, no. But he did leave a save there, so I think we know I don't think he's going to end up using that save, though, because I can't imagine you're resetting out of the adamant armor after a really quick fight.
Yeah, and you've got access to exit, so getting out is fast. Walking down is what takes time. Getting out does not take a lot of time.
Yep, the extra whale trips, the walking is what this is costing Judge Joe, but he's going to see that little boss sprite there and know this is a very quick outcome.
So yeah, Keddril, I think, is going to finish this Ashura fight, then has that Odin fight to get through, as well as the CPU, whereas Judge Joe has this Officer Soldier fight, and then Golbez, and then both of them will be heading to the Giant after that. I don't think either of them, because they'll have an adamant armor already, I don't think there's any need to go back to the blue planet first and get that second adamant armor, but that's a choice that they'll have.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be, especially having the one, I don't think I'd be too concerned. The levels, the gear you have, if that second one's going to make that much of a difference. Chat wondering, we haven't seen Wyvern yet. We could have Wyvern on the Giant. I don't think it'll pose too much of a problem for these teams, but I think it's time for Judge Joe to have his second date with Golbez and see if we can get him into go mode, essentially.
Yeah, the question is does this mean Wyvers and Giant? Not necessarily. There's always one boss that takes a seed off in every run, so it could be Wyvern's turn. Plus, there's a couple boss checks that we haven't seen yet, like the Mist Cave and the Watery Pass. We just don't have a reason to check those. Oh yeah, and Ellie, our restreamer, also mentions package we haven't seen yet.
But aside from those, have we seen every other spot? I think we might have.
Oh, Joe taking a time to go to the shop, probably hoping to find some backuses, because we haven't seen those in shops, and it looks like they are not appearing in this one, at least not in the shops.
But we've had Divergence, we've had Convergence, and all this to say this is still an extremely close race.
Yeah, and Odin now goes down from Keddril, going to get the word that this is not the Pinktail, is going to have to go up to that Crystal Sword altar, which we know has that CPU hiding the Pinktail.
Both runners now heading to their final KI check. That's going to get them the thing that they need. and then off to the Giant, and then off to Z. And amazingly, one of these runners is gonna come up short in this race, and that's pretty remarkable given how well they've run and how close this has been.
Yeah, both of them are making very good time overall in the seed. Now, it is true that they've had some good gear, some strong characters and everything, but they're also playing it well, and I think that's really a testament to both of these runners getting through what they had to do. Like, I think probably the most difficult fight was that Kainatsu at the King of Monsters in the Fae March, and both of them did pretty admirably, even though they didn't get it on their first try.
Yeah, this has been great levels of play. Chat pointing out, yeah, I think both runners do not feel confident right now because they're both last locationing the item they need. It just happens to be in different spots.
Absolutely, yeah. And now they are both in that final battle. Well, I say final battle, like final battle for go mode, really.
Yeah, final thing before they can talk to that soldier and say, hey, I'd like to go into a humongous robot, find what's inside and kill it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Tuesdays for me.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even mention it anymore.
I've got it scheduled as a repeating tweet, so off to a giant robot.
That's fair.
Kill what's inside. Keddril not going with the Zerker strategy. Okay, go ahead.
We're just seeing lots more nines. I think that was 12 nines. Is that dodeca nines? How would you describe? What do we call that?
12 is dodeca nines, yeah. And there, JudgeJoe has defeated Galvez. Is exiting out. Keddril choosing not to use the Berserk style in this fight, so it's taking a little bit longer, not too much longer, but is totally avoiding the possibility of a Globe 199. But that attacker should be down right quick. As JudgeJoe is now walking into the Giant.
And less than a minute behind is Keddril, about to exit, about to go onto that well, talk to the same soldier. And here we go. We're at the end stage of this seed. And JudgeJoe, the slight lead here, but very, very close.
Yeah, I think for a decent chunk of this seed, JudgeJoe's had a very slight lead, but it's so close. There have been times where I think Keddril has flipped the scale on his side, but I think most of the time it's been Joe with just a slight lead. But at the end here, it really could go any way. It could be down to the Z fight. I wouldn't be surprised if they're both at the Z fight at the same time. And
yeah,
it could go either way of that fight.
Yeah, I expect to see that sprite on the screen twice. It could come down to who these bosses are and who can eke out an edge in these fights. So I'm very curious to see how both runners handle it, if they're challenged at all. I think just about all of the coffinable, hourglassable bosses are off the table. So let's see who we get here in the element spot, the high hit point spot. Will it challenge these runners? Will it cost them some time?
The Lunar Sparkle, I think the only ones left was Wyvern. Am I forgetting one?
I don't think you are. We've got the Blarg Dragon in the element spot. We do have a Dragoon Spear. Let's see what this Mega Nuke hits for. Cecil doing fine.
Yeah, but he got the Star Veil up, which means you're not going to be able to Zerk him with a Berserk spell.
We do have King with his Dragoon Spear, which I think is going to be the answer. Just got to keep him up, hopefully. We'll see if Fu gets raised to be a target for these nukes that are about to start raining down.
Keddril just entering that fight now, too. Both of our runners in the Wyvern fight. Yeah, the nuke spell not too strong. The mega nuke was a bit scary at the beginning.
Yeah, if you get just like one Cure 2 on Kane, he's fine, but Cure 4 is definitely going to do it.
Yeah, I think JudgeJoe is looking pretty safe right now. This is definitely one of these fights where it's all about that that opening salvo and being okay after that, and then you recover and you do what you do after that, because the magic power here isn't strong enough to be super scary.
Yep. Recover and leverage your high impact weapons. We have a 141, like 32 crumble on JudgeJoe's side. Let's see how far behind Keddril ends up being, but so close.
Yeah, both of our runners heads up using that Dragoon Lance, dealing 7k plus damage from Kane. And remember, he's not the one with all the goodies like the adamant armor and everything, but he still has some pretty good goodies. He still has that, I believe, power shirt and Zeus gauntlet, so he's no slouch. Now JudgeJoe walking down the hallway to get to the boss in the CPU spot. This spot known for having very high physical attacks. Ooh, and it's Dr. Luge.
Is this spot known for its conversations?
Well, it is today, because Dr. Luge likes to talk up a storm. And Wyvern is crumbling on Keddril's side at 142.46.
So we're about a minute 15 seconds separating our runners. One last fight here on the Giant, and then a couple little tasks to complete on the Earth, minor tasks, but not fights, and then we'll be in Z, as you said, at the same time, with about a minute separating the runners.
Yeah, and for the record, this Dr. Luge fight, he does talk a lot, but this is not a difficult fight. This is not terribly challenging to get through, really anywhere. Like, he's not technically free, like you're not using coffins to beat him or anything. He just doesn't usually pose much of a threat.
Nope, and with compared to the element spot, which was where Wyvern was, about like a third the amount of hit points here, divided into 4 different forms, so not a lot of hit points, a couple swings, one more hit, I think, and the Doctor is going to go down on JudgeJoe's side.
And it is done there for JudgeJoe. Keddril has defeated Balnab, Dr. Luge, the good doctor himself. Uh-oh, that's rough. We're going to get a Balnab Z sighting.
One extra form on Keddril's side. I'm not sure. Quantify it, is that maybe a 10-second? Yeah, probably 5 to 10 second extra.
Yeah, one extra line of dialogue, I think, is the most time that's on there. But dialogue in battles is slow in Final Fantasy IV.
I hit my A button so rapidly when they come up, it never seems to make a difference.
No. All right.
So I think the hovercraft was probably left at the right location, so the airship he takes shouldn't matter here, which is nice, not having to go back to Mysidia to grab the Enterprise.
And there is the pink tail turning for JudgeJoe, and objective number 5 completed, and a second set of adamant armor. I think there's arguments for it being on Kane or Rosa, but either way, I'm sure it'll be equipped before the Z fight. And now he's got to head on over to Kaipo to cure the Desert Fever.
Judge Joe and Keddril are not really battling Zeromus. Zeromus has no chance at all. They're battling each other for how quickly they can get through him. By the way, Yang was the giant character. Not that that has any relevance to the seed, but there he is, and there he goes. And there's our edge.
Yeah, we want to make Edge feel a little better. Probably not going to join him on the team. I mean, definitely not going to join him on the team. But yeah, that is the final objective for Judge Joe, and the crystal received at 146.14.
Little over a minute lead maintained through the giant. We'll see if it's not going to change by too much one way or the other through this. And then it is off to Zeromus.
Yeah, it's going to be all how this Z fight goes. Which one of them can get through it faster? A minute to make up with this strong a party that we've got, I think is going to be a pretty tough ask for Keddril. I think Judge Joe's in a pretty solid driver's seat right now, but you know, anything can happen in the Z fight.
Yep, it would take, and something that I've done on stream where you miss menu even despite having a tough party. So I'm definitely hoping that Judge Joe does not run into that outcome. But yeah, like you said, it as close as this is with the teams they have assembled, it would be very tough for Keddril to make up this time. But you never know, and we're about to go through the Serpent Road, direct one shop stop to Zeromus, and I'm looking forward to seeing that classic sprite. Everyone is throwing up these Z flags because they want to see classic Zeromus as we all remember him from Final Fantasy IV base game. Is that what we're going to see, Rex?
No, because we don't give people what they want. We get them something random instead, because it's time to ask, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And important to remember, we will randomize Zeromus' appearance, but he will act exactly the same as he does in the vanilla game.
Let's see both of these teams rain down large amounts of damage, have very quick Z fights, but at the same time we get to look at a really nice piece of 16-bit artwork, mainly provided by Scala Kitty, who's in chat tonight, but also some other contributors along the way, and we're about to find out.
And here comes the crystal right around the same time that Keddril is turning in the pass. Oof. This is exciting here. This is what you want to see. And here comes the true colors.
Let's see if this spread is a birthday present for Scala Kitty.
We've got Flurrymus, one of our previous winners.
So, and Scala Kitty was on comms earlier today as Flurry raced. Won't spoil the race. Definitely a great race to go watch back. But there he is. He's the Z tonight.
Yeah, definitely one of the great racers of Free Enterprise is Flurry. So glad to see him here tonight. Glad to see his butt kicked by both Judge Joe and Keddril here.
Yeah, that's huge damage, huge hit points. Be very tough for Judge Joe not to pull this one off. Flurry, a much tougher opponent in a race than he is Z in this particular moment.
Yeah, I'd be more scared of Flurry in a race than with this squad with 2 adamant armors, crystal sword, and everything like that. Question in chat, Chucker, did Keddril equip that adamant? Yeah, he put it on key. The second one he put on key. The first one was already in season.
Damage coming out. That's close to 7K plus. Yeah, we're getting basically 10K between the 2 swings from our 2 melee fighters over on Judge Joe's side. We're gonna have similar numbers on Keddril. Unfortunately, the time just not gonna be able to be made up here. But outstanding race by both of these runners in the Cat Claw group.
And the rocks are falling over on Joe's side, which is the last phase of Zeromus.
One more swing, two more swings.
And there we go. The crack boom hits, and Judge Joe has won the fight. 150-43. Really well played by both our runners. Judge Joe taking the win in a very close fight tonight.
You cannot ask, when you watch a race, compete in a race, call a race, whatever it is, having both runners at Z, basically a minute apart, hard to ask for a tighter, closer race. Really skill shown by both runners tonight. One little decision here or there perhaps making the difference, and a really great job. And GG to Judge Joe, who joined us in the booth. You've had about 15 minutes, Joe, to reflect upon your victory. How are you feeling? Congratulations.
Pretty happy that I managed to scrape through. I was getting pretty nervous towards the end.
Yeah, scrape through in terms of finding the items, but definitely not scraping through in terms of the gear and the party. You probably had to be pretty happy as that party was being assembled in the gear you were finding.
Oh yeah, that was a powerful party. It just didn't find the items for go mode. The only thing that could have been better would have been Adamant before the last four bosses, but
yeah, Adamant.
Crystal Sword Cecil does work.
Yeah, we were commenting in the booth about you kept hitting all of the Dark Elf, the Mylon Z, eventually the Golbez, all of these bosses who just truly take advantage of having the Crystal Sword to get through them quickly, as we see on stream. Your opponent Keddril finishing basically a minute behind you, a minute 15 seconds, super close race. GG to Keddril as well.
Yeah, going into this race, Keddril had won his previous one against Poidrak, so I knew I needed to play pretty solidly to have a chance.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because that's really interesting, because from looking at the standings in the Cat Claw group, like Poidrak had beat you, but Keddril beat Poidrak, and now you beat Keddril. So it's like a big circle there of the three of you in this seed, but this puts you pretty nice at 2-1.
Yep. I'm hoping to just keep on going up there. Now that I've starting to hit my stride, I feel.
We mentioned at the beginning this was another one of those races featuring one of the, I'm not sure if founding members is the right word, but just someone who's been around in a while in Keddril. And Judge Joe, remind me, is this your first tournament? Were you in ZZ4? But I know you're basically...
This is my first tournament. I started playing Free Enterprise late September, early October, I think was my first seed.
Yeah, wow. So right as ZZ4 was kind of heating up and you got into it, and yeah, you are an excellent runner for being so new relatively to some of the folks who've been here for a couple years, and you're proving it. And this Cat Claw group is super, super exciting, don't you think, Rex?
Yeah, I think especially this just kind of shows just how close this group is going to be when it finishes. And like I said, with this circle of three people all beating each other in that sense, that just shows how close the runners of this group are. And I think, Judge Joe, this shows just how good you are in this, and we're definitely going to be looking forward to the rest of your runs here in this event. Did you have any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to say?
Really happy I still had Kane when that Wyvern popped up.
Yes, yeah, and that Dragoon Lance, right?
Yep. I think I found like 3 of those, at least 2 of them, but...
Yeah, it's fun when Kane can outdamage your Crystal Sword Cecil. Do you have your next match scheduled? Where should we see you next?
I believe my next match will be Saturday. Let me see what time. I'll be Saturday at Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern against Aizen Tayama is my next match.
And you got another one of the old guard to face against there. So good luck in that match. And GG's again. Congratulations. And hope everything goes well for you for the rest of this event.
Thank you. It's been lots of fun so far.
That's awesome.
Yep,
okay. And that is our winner today. And moving up to 2-1 here in the Catcog group, JudgeJoe. Keddril has declined an interview, but Keddril is still not out of it yet. Still going to be moving to 1-1, but definitely still a force to be reckoned with here at the Cat Claw group. Microcorks, do you have any other thoughts before we go today?
I'm just looking at the times on our screen. GG to JudgeJoe and congrats, and definitely GG to Keddril. It doesn't get much closer than that with these kind of races. I hadn't been paying too much attention to the Cat Claw group, but now I am, and it's I just can't wait to see how it shakes out, who ends up winning, who ends up in the play-in match. But we're done with our race here, but I don't think we're done with your free enterprise action tonight. Rex, can you tell us where we're going next?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do, I just want to once again give LSL and Dubward for being the restreamers and trackers today. Also to all the people who are administrating this tournament and making sure that it happens, because they do a lot of the unseen work, which is really important. For now, we're going to take you on over to Free Enterprise 2, and right now they have. I saw this channel, but now I need to know the race. Dr.
Cossack versus Scythe Marshal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's what I've got here. Yeah, from the Ninja Shirt group. Remember, when we go there, no spoilers, please, anybody, for this race, because lots of people want to watch it back. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day, everybody.